Now, Brad Stevens is in a very unique position when it comes to Jaylen Brown because this was very unexpected for Tatum to be out and for Jaylen Brown to lead this team in a 50-plus win season. The way they changed their playoff game plan, just going back to Tatum, might have been a little bit too early. You got to be very delicate because throughout the years, as we'll hear from Jaylen Brown right now, we're going to see the relationship with the Celtics hasn't necessarily been one of them consistently letting him know that he's valued. And at times, as Jaylen Brown's going to allude right here, the Celtics really try to control him. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
Man, but I would say, I think sums it up perfectly. We all have different views of ourselves, different views from our parents, different views from people back home, different views from the organization, and it all might not be the reality of where you at right now. So the problem is, I think sometimes is that patience and a plan or a strategy doesn't come into effect. It just thinks I'm supposed to get this right now. And at some point, it's like, maybe you make that decision where it's not gonna work out here. Maybe I need to go somewhere else. Or maybe my reality in my brain is not the reality I'm living. But at some point, those decisions have to get made. But for me, how I looked at it is like, I'm gonna accept the role that they are offering me while knowing the role that I have for myself, right? And I'm gonna do your role to perfection, but I'm gonna sneak my little 1-2 in there, every chance I get, basically.
Yeah.
So now my strategy is I'm gonna show the people. I didn't care about the front office. Once you get the people talking about it, the front office is gonna start making decisions.
Yeah.
Because they got pressure on them. Like, I remember the Boston Celtics. We remember the year we came back. Gordon came back. Kyrie came back after the year that we took the team almost to the finals in 2018.
Yep.
Then we come back to the next year. Gordon and Kyrie are now back on that team, and so now we got this loaded team with all this talent. They decided to move me to the bench, which was understandable. You got guys you making $30 million or whatever. But as a 20-year-old kid who is extremely talented, that slowed down my development.
And Brad Stevens right there did not know how to manage all those different kind of personalities and the political situations. But Jaylen Brown right here lets it be known of one of the only reasons why he started is because he got to the fan bases first and they started making noise about why isn't he part of the starting five.
So in that moment, like, how do I get back to where I want to get back to? 'Cause now I'm getting criticized for not working on my game.
Right.
Now I'm getting criticized for not being ready for my opportunities. In reality, it was we just had a stacked deck and it was too much responsibility for, everyone to equally share. So what I did was like, how do you win over the fans, right? Anytime I'm on the floor, I'm the best defender on the floor. And then I'm creating highlights where I'm like, if I get a fast break, if you look at that year, I'm windmilling it. I get a fast break, I'm down here with it. So now they start to be like, why isn't this kid playing more? Right? And why isn't he playing more consistently? And they start asking those questions. And in Boston, what ended up happening, this is like a forgotten moment in time, but they ended up having a petition, like the fans sent a petition, like put Jaylen back in the starting lineup.
Wow.
And that eventually made the Celtics put me back in the starting lineup. Not because I feel like they wanted to. I think Brad preferred Gordon. One, he was making more money. Two, he was coming back off injury. Also the butler.
Now, if you notice that right there, you hear Andre Iguodala laughing because these are parts that Jaylen Brown was not supposed to say out loud. He just stated, I don't think Brad wanted me in the starting lineup. He wasn't supposed to say that part out loud, especially knowing that the situation he's in right now, ending the season and some of his live streams kind of got the NBA media going.
Butler.
So
keep it Butler.
I'm just, you know what I'm saying? They gave Gordon every chance offensively that he absolutely could. And like they felt like he deserved it because he made that big commitment to come from Utah and from being an all-star to now, and it just didn't work out.
Again, that's Danny Ainge trying to manage the politics of that team. And we're seeing right from the get-go, Jaylen Brown remembers not being as valued. We were always hearing his name in trade rumors. Remember the AD for Jaylen Brown rumors. Now it's Giannis for Jaylen Brown, especially coming out of a season where he led a team that should have been tanking to 50 plus wins. If we sit back and had to bet all the money in our bank account, would we say a healthy Jayson Tatum is guaranteed to do the same thing? Just think about it for a sec. And with that in mind, knowing how Jaylen Brown was treated when he first arrived in Boston, not being as valued, we're now going to hear him explain how they were also trying to control his voice.
It's like, it's a bigger game going on. And obviously I love to play the game of basketball. And I've talked about this before. Sports is a mechanism, could be viewed as a mechanism for control. And I remember the first time I said that, I was 20 years old. I had just gotten to the league. I was in Boston, and I'm thinking I'm talking to like a normal beat writer. Happened to be like this big writer for The Guardian. And it was like, this dude put me on the cover of The Guardian newspaper saying, Jaylen Brown says sports is a mechanism for control. That's when I was 19 years old. And then that went viral. And then that's when I got invited to Harvard to go speak about it. So Harvard invited me based on that article in The Guardian to come speak about it. That's why I became the youngest Harvard lecturer, because I was talking about how sports is a mechanism for control, because that became controversial. Like, how could this 19-year-old player say sports is a mechanism for control when sports the NBA just helped him recreate generational wealth? He just changed his whole family's life through sport. How could he criticize it, right? So I got a lot of pushback, even from my organization. Danny Ainge came and talked to me, like, what is this? Of course, you're 19 years old, you just got drafted, your family, how can you say that sports is a mechanism for control? They didn't understand, but there was understanding that needed to be had. And I spoke to that at 19, and I still speak to it to this day. Sports is so political. It is like everything that we can talk about so many different times that I could bring up just through my career. And I can even talk about what's going on right now. The statements that are being made, it's political as fuck. So I think that's the biggest misconception. I think a lot of people still who watch, they think like, oh, it's just sports, it's just entertainment. Let me turn my brain off. No, but you being programmed to think a certain way through the sports, through the marketing, through the statements, through what the players is pushing, and what we co-signing, what the league is co-signing, what they marketing on it, all of that stuff is a part of it. It's propaganda.
AKA, it sounds like he's talking about the gambling. 90% of that sounds like he's talking about the gambling. But again, we're now seeing how the relationship was when he first initially got there. Not feeling valued. They're trying to control his voice. They're questioning him on what he's telling the media. A lot of these sports leagues are major real estate for just cultural influence. That's the reason in recent years we've seen a major push for a lot of the political personalities to kind of merge themselves in the sports world. Is because they get that understanding. They're trying to attach themselves to that cultural real estate to influence people to believe in their political candidates or just whatever philosophies they go by. But again, Jaylen Brown right here at this tech conference, he gets into a nice bag about what these sports leagues are really all about.
Today, I'm going to be talking about breaking panopticism, also algorithmic social engineering. If I control the technology, I can dictate the market. I'll explain what that means. Michel Foucault, a French philosopher in 1975, in their work Discipline and Punish, talked about panopticism. She based it off of a prison design, right? It was a prison design with a watchtower in the middle of the prison. And this theory was that, like, by putting the watchtower in the middle, the prisoners would police themselves because they're under surveillance. So physical authority has shifted to psychological authority, right? And over time, their behaviors change, and this causes a term she calls dynamic normalization. So in the digital age, the watchtower has transferred. So through technology, through bots, fake viral clips, fake accounts. You can police platforms and algorithmically influence society with the technology that you can control. The technology that you can control can dictate the market. We see it across various industries all the time. A lot of people have seen some of my quarrels with the media industry. That's kind of the reason why I started streaming. You know, some of you have seen my stream and going off on Stephen A. Smith. But exactly, but Stephen A. works for ESPN. ESPN is controlled by Disney. Stephen A. doesn't choose the topics. Somebody chooses them for him. You know, his willingness has made him extremely valuable to these companies. But you know, a lot of these companies and corporations, they meet 4 times a year and talk about amongst various industries how they can socially engineer and influence our minds, right, through the technology that they can control without us really even paying attention and even noticing it. Just like the Michel Foucault theory, where I was talking about the watchtower that is policing the prisoners. Bots, comments, positive comments or negative comments could affirm whatever agendas that they want to push. They can create the bots, they can control kind of the approvals or disapprovals of what is in society. Another example is kind of like group thinking. If I control a bunch of platforms, or I control a bunch of accounts, or have a bunch of partners that are all in cahoots with me, I can also socially engineer conversations, start trends, kind of create a herd mentality where you think it's natural, but it's all algorithmically engineered to dictate the market. And then the last one I would say is like the digital dopamine. A lot of us are addicted to social media, we don't even know it, right? The rewarding feeling of getting likes, the rewarding feeling of getting impressions can cause addiction. And the opposite of that can cause the opposite, anxiety and depression. This is all reinforcing the overarching Michel Foucault's theory, the watchtower. And the philosophy is that physical authority has shifted to psychological authority. I was doing media after Celtics practice, and a writer came up to me and was asking me questions about politics and sports. And I just thought I'll just share my thoughts, the things that I learned at Berkeley. And I ended up telling him that sports is used as a mechanism for control. So that's exactly what he titled the article. Jaylen Brown says sports is used as a mechanism for control. I gained some support, but mostly I got a lot of backlash. The front office, Danny Ainge at the time, called me into his office and was like, how could you say this? You're saying sports is used as a mechanism for control, but you just benefited from sports and changed your family generationally. And he's right. And I told him sports can be used to do great things, bring people together, change people's lives, inspire people, motivate, but it also can be used as the opposite. So I told Danny it could be used as a way to distract people from what's really going on in society. There's panopticons, watchtowers, that exist within sports as well, where media training is like a way of programming athletes to think, act, and behave the same. Nothing controversial, nothing political, nothing unsafe.
And let me say this. Here's another check and balance that the NBA had flexed in case of an emergency. This pertains to what Jaylen Brown just mentioned. Remember during the bubble when the players were willing to walk out and protest, and then a quick call was made. Next thing you know, the players were speaking with Obama during a pandemic where most people were even scared to travel. But yet the NBA was able to make an emergency phone call because they had to protect their money, and Obama quickly was in a face-to-face meeting with the players. These sports leagues have always been very political. Obama was called in to basically sway the players to keep playing and work out some other agreement when it came to the whole taking a stance. The NBA understood what kind of sway Obama had on the players in this exact situation.
And the people that I admire the most were the exact opposite of that. Muhammad Ali, Bill Russell, Jim Brown, they all use their platforms for something beyond sports. So while I'm here, while I got my platform, those who are listening and those who may be listening in the future back home, I just want to encourage people to be not afraid to be who you are, be proud of where you come from, and to think critically and think for yourself. When I was in high school, I had to make a big decision. I was the #1 player in the country. People would think that's an easy decision to make. It's actually one of the hardest I've ever had to make. Like, as an 18-year-old, you can go to any school in the world that you want to based upon your talent and your ability. How do you narrow it down, right? So, you know, typically most human beings would see like, okay, players like me or people like me, let's see what other people like me, decisions they made. So that's what I kind of did. A lot of the players that were like me went to Kentucky or Kansas or North Carolina. That was the typical algorithm within a top 5 player, top 5 prospect in the world. So I made a decision that at 18 that if I was going to use my platform, I was going to be in control. So instead, I went to UC Berkeley and explored my educational career versus going to what the algorithm would have preferred me to do.
So as Jaylen Brown alluded to, a lot of the campaigns being ran by bots to make people think a certain narrative is what the masses are thinking. We're seeing the same campaign be ran on him when it comes to his relationship with the Boston Celtics this offseason. He's coming off of one of the greatest seasons he's ever had, averaging 28 points per game, almost 7 rebounds and 5 assists. And it's amazing the level of rumors that has his name attached to it, when we really never seen if Jayson Tatum is going to be the same guy that he was pre-injury. Check out Bill Simmons right here as he tosses Jaylen Brown's name for Giannis, as if the Greek freak is still in his prime and didn't have a ton of lower body surgeries.
But I think if the Celtics trade Jaylen, I don't think it's going to be for Giannis. I think it's going to be a trade like this. Multiple pieces, more flexibility, guys that would lead to one extra move after this. And I think that's what they're thinking.
Wow. Bill Simmons, a diehard Celtics fan, is talking about Jaylen Brown as if he's some sort of B-level star.